Hey, welcome back to Almost Machining. What you're looking at right here is a 1965 Overbeck Zetto 20. Might be Zetto, not really sure. This is a very small cylindrical grinding machine. I've already started tearing down some of the pieces on it. It has I believe this is an 8-inch or 10-inch grinding wheel. We have the belt for it. Probably gonna have to get a new one of those. We have about 5 degrees or the total tilt on the table. This was completely frozen up. Has a micrometer adjustment for here. The table has a cross feed. It's really smooth. It has an in feed, so disengage or engage the wheel. And on the in feed for this, it has a standard crank. It's very small adjustments. It can be engaged to where it's just one click. I don't know what one click means yet. It is graduated. I have no idea what the graduations are. It also will go into, it also goes into a very small click type adjustment. And if I back this up, it's more smooth for a consistent in feed. This knob is completely frozen up. I don't know what this does. In some of the pictures, there's a rod inside of one of the holes over here. There's a switch. Don't know what this switch does. I believe that this adjustment right here is for the automatic cross feed, and it has some controls that I'm not sure what they do yet either. We've started tearing it down. It seems to be in really good shape as far as the motion goes. The table was frozen together. That's been taken care of. Just cleaned it up, lightly stoned it and oiled it, put it back in place. I have to remove it to put the screw back in and the micrometer adjust. I've got parts down on the bottom. And we'll keep you updated on how we're going about doing this. So subscribe, stick with us, and follow this restoration. Thank you. I put the tailstock for the grinder into a bucket, and I believe this is to be the diamond dresser holder. I'm going to see if I can't get it in here a little ways too, and I'm going to add a bunch of evapor rust to this. Start getting these things soaked up and cleaned up. So I went ahead and removed the top table off. You can see there's a lot of grime and grit here. The axial adjustment screw had a boo-boo right here. Found that when I took this apart. It's just a screw supporting in between the, there's a, yeah, in between this hole back here, and it allows it to be adjusted almost like a micrometer. And somebody boogered this end up pretty handily, and I just used pliers to hold on to it as I remove the screw set. There's a washer pack, and in between the washers, bearings. Same thing on this side. I'll just clean this up. It's a hardened screw. Just it looks like a micrometer pitch. So we've taken apart the dresser, the shoulder stop, and a good portion of the tailstock, or all the pieces are out. On the dresser, there was this micrometer type dial. All of this had completely rusted up. We use evapor rust on it, some of the other pieces that go with it. This is the ram for the tailstock, one of the lock pins, the tailstock puller back piece. This is part of the dresser. This is part of the Z-stop. Had bearing mounts on both sides. There's some of the bearings here. They all cleaned up nicely. This screw is completely rusted. It's completely cleaned up. This goes over the screw. And this is another part of the diamond dresser right here. And there's the tailstock spring and the existing dead center that was in it already. We've got everything cleaned up. There's some repainting that's going to have to take place. A lot of lubrication and some mild, I'd say Scotch-Brite at the most, work on some of these pieces. So this part is the table swivel adjustment screw. And on the end of it, originally from the factory, this is supposed to be a hex head. Now I did file a little bit to try to get at these. I believe it's just a pin, but for all I know it could be a screw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently grind down a little bit into this piece so I can try to take it off. I will remake this piece. It has graduated markings on it around the dial. I can't just heat it up because I want to preserve this flat washer, or this flat felt washer right here. And in between here is a bearing mount. There are little tiny bearings that hold this together. So I'm going to be using a diamond burr just to gently grind away. Victory! So the pin was definitely clear of the surface. We didn't damage the surface of the shaft whatsoever. It came apart nicely. So this is the part will be the first piece that we'll be remaking. And that's again for the angular adjustment of the entire table. We've got a lot of the parts for the center grinder cleaned up. This is part of the diamond dresser. It's pretty much stripped down. Getting ready to apply paint soon. This is the other section piece for that. This is the part of the micrometer, I guess, depth stop holder. The bearing races are still inside. I'm not going to take those out. I'm going to leave them as is. This is part of the tailstock. And right here there's a high spot. This is the actual table off of the machine. It has the angle pin. These lines here are just from where I had it sitting over on the lathe. I wanted to get it off the machine. I didn't apply any type of rust removal or do any cleaning on this yet, but this is the back side of it. If we turn this over, this is the actual surface. So based on what I'm seeing, there's clearance underneath the center, and it's riding on the actual surface underneath underneath here. So these are riding. This is a clearance area, which means that that's going to have to go. So this entire surface is going to have to be scraped. So we're going to work on getting this cleaned up and this cleaned up and scrape these surfaces in. I started taking my flat stone to it. Is not even cutting. Now it pulled some of the rust up, and I used a piece of red to get these. These were rather high in rusted pits, but I can't get a single cut on this. It's the whole piece is hardened, so we'll leave this alone. Scrape the bottoms of this in. Yeah, scrape the bottoms of that in to where they're clean. Get rid of this, clean this up so it has a good mating surface, and work to get this piece cleaned up and then back onto the machine. Here's the tailstock off of the grinder. I've got on the surface plate. You can, I don't know if you can hear that, but click, 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 click. And it rides on the feet on the mating pace. If I turn this over, you can see where there's definitely this high spot here, and then a couple of are touching around the outside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a rough scrape to bring this down, and then see if I can get this taken care of and then bring the whole surface down. So we got that high spot scraped down quite nicely, and we went ahead and scraped the rest of the surface. It's just a general little pattern here. Let's see how it looks. And here to remove, and then over here. We'll go at it. Thanks for watching.